who I feel like was horrible. This woman needs therapy. Someone please get this woman therapy. He was playing in her face, but then she knew good and well she wasn't pregnant. And she, like, who are you talking to? Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Samantha and I make videos on whatever I want. But today I wanted to talk about Young, Famous, and African. The series is on Netflix and it just came out with its third season, I believe, a few weeks ago. And I'm not gonna lie, I was hooked. I watched it at least within like 2 days, I think. Like I watched it from start to finish, or maybe 3, I don't remember, but it definitely was my main thing that I was watching for a few days. And although I did enjoy the season, I have some thoughts. I definitely have some thoughts on the cast members and just how things went overall. But for anyone who hasn't watched the show, essentially it is a reality show that follows the lives of a group of friends who are living in Africa. I think they all live in different parts of Africa, but the show takes place in South Africa. So I don't know if they all like congregate there during filming and then part ways, or if they all truly live there. I don't know. But essentially everyone on the show is young-ish, famous, and or African. So some castmates don't check all 3 boxes, in my opinion. There are definitely some who are not so young. There are definitely some who are not so famous, but I think everyone is African. I want to talk about a few of the castmates in particular. I don't want to get too deep into some of them because I don't really care too much about their storylines. But this season we have Zari the boss, or Zari the boss lady, Zari. We have Annie. She is a Nigerian actress, I believe. We have Nadia, Swanky, Fantana, Diamond, Naked, Kaylee, Kefilwe, Lewis, Ini Ito, I hope I'm saying that right. And I guess Shakib, I think that was his name. Zari's man's, or her new husband. I feel like that's everyone. But before I get into all of the drama of these castmates, there are a couple of people I kind of miss, but not really. Like Kanye, I personally did not care for her in the 2 previous seasons, but I feel like she was a nice addition in the little cameo she made this season. Like she genuinely was kind of a voice of reason, and I was feeling it, and I kind of wish we saw more of her. And then Andile, I don't know what happened to him. Like, is he just off the show, or I don't know what was the story behind that, but I feel like he was a voice of reason in previous seasons. So I kind of feel like he should have been here for all of this garbage, because I feel like they kept going to each other, but everyone this season was kind of messy. I guess Naked was supposed to be that, but I don't think he did that good of a job. And then Ini is new, and she had her own drama. But let's start with Zari. I think the season kind of just starts off with her wedding. So she got married to Shakib, and I think it is a little weird because he's like 12 years younger than her, which there's nothing wrong with that. You know, there's nothing wrong with being a cougar. But I think Diamond was also younger than her. So I'm like, I guess she likes them young. I don't know. If she likes it, I love it. This season, I feel like Zari was a little bit more mellow than she usually is. I feel like she was still messy. She's always messy and shady and, you know, slight instigator, but not full on instigation. I think she wasn't as problematic as she's been in the past, because I feel like Zari has been pretty problematic in the previous seasons, but this season I feel like she wasn't that bad. She definitely gives like frenemy vibes though. Like you could be her friend, but she also might shade you behind your back, or she might shade you to your face, to be honest. For example, I feel like with Kefilwe, even though they weren't necessarily friends because she's new, she was a new cast member, I think her bringing up her alleged fake wedding, but kind of covering it up by seeming like she was being supportive, but then sliding in there that she said it was her like PR or whatever she said. I feel like that's shady. Like, and why are you doing that in front of other people? You could have taken her to the side and talked about that. That doesn't make any sense. But yeah, I feel like Zari wasn't that bad. I feel like Swanky wasn't that bad this season either. I feel like he does have his moments where he inserts himself in situations. I feel like he's I don't know, like his energy is a little bit too much for me sometimes, coming at Louis, which he's come at Louis in the past, and it's just like, sir, calm down, like you really don't need to be doing all that. But I like Swinky. I feel like Swinky is a true friend. I feel like Swinky can also be a little shady, but I don't feel like he's shady towards like people he really cares about. Like if he genuinely F's with you, I don't feel like Swinky's shading you. Fantana, a mess. I feel like Fantana, stand up. What is wrong with you and Diamond? This whole pregnancy thing. I personally don't even believe this girl was pregnant for real, or she believed she was pregnant. Maybe she did for a second, thought she was pregnant, but then she knew good and well she wasn't pregnant, and she was just dragging along this story. Because I feel like truly, if you thought you were pregnant, it wouldn't be broadcasted the way that it was. Like the way that she told Nadia, and then Nadia told Kanye, and then Kanye called up Swanky, and then it was being talked about, like mentioned at like dinner and stuff. I'm just like, girl, you're not pregnant, girl. Like you're taking this a little bit too lightly. And then it's like Diamond of all people, like Diamond really is not the one that you should be having a child with. Granted, I feel like Fantana would have been perfectly happy if Diamond was the father. I think she was more so concerned about having a baby, period, not necessarily having a baby with Diamond. And I think everybody else's concern was the fact that this baby would be Diamond's baby, and I feel like she wasn't as concerned. So, but I will say I like that Fantana isn't super fake, in my opinion. I feel like if she don't mess with you, she don't mess with you, and she makes it clear. If she's ready to leave, she's ready to leave. She'll ask, why am I here? Obviously, like with this show, I feel like there are tons of events, and I think they all just go because they're filming. If they're not contractually obligated to go, I'm assuming that they're pushed to go by production and whatever. So her being at Zari's wedding was weird. I don't understand why she was at Zari's wedding or invited, but I kind of understand because they were filming. Same thing for Annie, like y'all had beef, like why are you at the wedding? But why were you invited? Like I don't understand why Zari invited them, but it's like if they're filming, it makes sense. But yeah, Fantana, I don't know, she needs to go do something. She needs to go work on her music, because clearly they don't even know if she got 3 songs. It was so funny when, who was she going at it with? She was going at it with Louis. Was it Louis? I think it was Louis. I think it was somebody. But they were like, oh, what are your songs? Or what's like, what music do you have? And blah, blah, blah. And then it cuts to her in her confessionals or whatever, saying like, of course I have music. Naked brought me here because of my music or whatever. I'm sure he has my entire EP on his phone. And then it cuts to Naked talking about, does Fantana have 3 songs? Like, girl, you over here bragging about that this producer or whoever has your EP, he can't even list 1 song. I did end up looking up Fantana on Spotify, and she does have some songs. One of them was okay. Would I listen to it or add it to a playlist? No, definitely room for improvement, but she does have some music out there. Just in case y'all are wondering, I think she has bigger things to focus on than Diamond, but she's clearly head in the clouds, Delulu. She thinks she's not, but she is. And on that note, I guess we could jump to Diamond. Diamond, in my opinion, didn't really give much this season. Like Diamond was just being Diamond. I feel like he is clearly just a player. He clearly is just trying to have his fun and have his cake and eat it too. He's not really trying to be serious with Fantana. Clearly he thinks that he could always still get Zari, I guess, which low-key he probably could, because Zari be a little bit iffy with that, even though she's a married woman now, claiming that, oh, like all the touchy feely is gonna stop. If Diamond really wanted to be serious one day, she might fall for it. I don't know, but Shakib might not be having that though. He seems real serious about her, which I like that. Like I feel like he's not playing about her, but I feel like she might be playing about him. I don't know. What was weird to me though is just Diamond being like so unserious with Fantana, but then being so disappointed when she wasn't pregnant. Like, sir, you don't even want to be in a relationship for real, but you want to have another baby? Crazy. And then like he's openly saying like, yeah, I'm just telling her things she wants to hear to keep her happy. Like he's really playing in her face, but other than that, I feel like Diamond was just Diamond. Like I don't think this season he was particularly interesting besides him being him. He's kind of funny though, because he really just says what he feels and he stands on it. He's like, whatever, like he's not a serious guy. Nadia, I felt so bad for her. Like, she was really going through a lot, and I personally don't follow any of these people. Like I only hear about them or know about them when the show is like freshly out with the new season. Other than that, like, I'm not hearing about them. I'm not seeing them anywhere. But I do know, like, last season they said that she had a love interest or something, and I think that's the guy that passed away. And I just find that so sad because she really seemed broken. Like, she really seemed broken that she lost her person. And I think the show was filming like a good amount of time after, so, but not too much to where she's like, you know, fully moved on or anything. Not to say that she's ever gonna move on, because the way it looks like she was really in love with him. But yeah, I just felt really bad for her. I love that scene between her and Kanye. I feel like Kanye was definitely being like big sister role there, but it just really like was sad to see that how like she hated being alone. Like, she didn't even want to be alone, like be with her own thoughts. And I'm like, I feel like that's like your own personal hell when you just don't even want to be by yourself. But honestly, I like Nadia. I feel like past seasons, I feel like season 2 she wasn't there very much, not from what I remember. But I personally have never disliked Nadia. I think in previous seasons I didn't have any feelings towards her, but this season I like her. I definitely like her. I feel like she says what she says, she stands on it, and she's not accepting any kind of mistreatment, any kind of BS, any kind of just crazy behavior. Annie, I do feel like she's generally a good friend, but maybe oversteps a little bit. In Fantana's situation with the baby pregnancy scare or whatever, I do feel like Nadia could have pulled back a little bit, because yes, Diamond is not the one to be having a baby with, and yes, he was playing in her face, but that was still Fantana's situation to handle, and she wasn't asking you to do all this, that, you know, calling him out at dinner and all this stuff. Like, she wasn't asking for all that. So I feel like Nadia kind of overstepped there. But when she had her moments with Annie, she really ate Annie up. She really ate Annie up. And Annie deserved it. 100% stand behind her, because she was right about everything. Honestly, she seems cool. She seems like she's a vibe. I feel like she gets along with everybody else. Like, she doesn't have issues with anyone else outside of Annie, and Annie is a common denominator for a lot of people. So I feel like generally Nadia's liked by the group and liked by me. So, and even in her situation with Naked, I feel like she handled that very well. I feel like she was right to be upset, because he admitted to lying to her. He lied to her, he admitted to it, so why wouldn't she be upset, especially if you're inviting her somewhere for an event that was technically planned by someone she doesn't mess with. But her being very gracious towards him afterwards and saying like, it's water under the bridge, like, we're good. I love that. Like, she's not one to hold grudges or be petty, but she still expressed her feelings and knew her feelings were valid, and again, she stood on that. So moving on, Naked and Kaylee. I'm gonna pair Naked and Kaylee together because honestly, they're kind of just a unit in this. I feel like neither of them have much of a story outside of each other. I honestly don't have much to say about them. They're kind of boring. They've had the same plot since season 1. Like, are you gonna get married or not? Are you gonna break up or not? Like, what is it? But for the most part, the same old story. Like, Kaylee's ready for marriage, she's ready for kids, ready to buy a house, all of this stuff. Naked is still apprehensive, but we do find out that he's been married twice before, or 3 times before. I think it was twice. So it is valid, in my opinion, that he would be worried about doing this all over again. But it's like, okay, sir, it's been 4 years, you're living with her. At this point, you're moving, like, you're kind of married. Why don't you just put a ring on it? And it's like, okay, maybe 3rd time might be the charm. Like, if you know you're not ready for marriage anytime soon, you should have just let her go. You're just wasting her valuable youthful years where she could have found another man and have her babies and, you know, be married and have her house and all of that, and you're just not having her here. Like, you wasting her time. But long story short, there's a few conversations. Kaylee's talking about she gonna move out, which I feel like she wasn't really gonna move out, or maybe she was, but she's talking about like she's gonna move out. Annie is being messy by bringing it up and all this stuff. And fast forward to the end of the season, Naked does propose. We'll see if they actually get married or if it's gonna be a super long engagement and he was just doing that to appease her, but it was cute or whatever, like, you know. Moving on to Eni. Eni is a new cast member. She is a Nigerian actress who's been in tons of movies, none that I've watched, but I might be curious and watch them. I haven't watched African movies in years, so we'll see. But apparently she's like a very big Nigerian actress. Annie is too, supposedly, but I haven't seen Annie in any movies. I haven't seen either of them. But I feel like Eni is probably like a more known name. I liked Eni. I feel like she was a vibe. She definitely gave like, you know, boss, like I'm coming in here, no one's gonna play with me, but I'm still gonna be nice. She gave very much more sophisticated, I guess. She definitely was like more mature. I feel like her demeanor was more mature. Eni was just like, she was chill, it was like whatever, but she definitely gave the vibe like don't play with her at the same time. And she made that very clear with Lewis, because Lewis tried to do some stuff and ask her about her surrogacy journey and all this stuff. I feel like Lewis asking Eni about her surrogacy was coming from an innocent place. I don't think he meant to offend her by any means. So I feel like she took it a little bit far by being offended just strictly off of that when he at first initially asked her. And at that point, he did not know what her journey really was or where it stemmed from. But I can understand her frustration because her journey was so traumatic. Like she really struggled to try to have a baby and conceive and carry full term herself, and it just didn't work out. Multiple miscarriages, IVF, the whole nine, and she still had to go through the surrogacy route, which was her last resort. So I totally understand her feeling away with somebody asking her about that. But I think Lewis messed up when he asked her to come and join him and Shakib to vet women to have his baby, because you should have told her. Like, you really should have just told her what was up, not just springing this up on somebody, because I wouldn't even like that. Like I've never experienced anything that has to do with surrogacy. I've never been a surrogate. I've never had a surrogate baby or anything. And if somebody did that to me, I would even still feel away. Like, why am I here? Like literally, why am I here? And for him, I feel like had he talked to her beforehand, he would have known like, okay, like she's not comfortable with this. And then dismissing her the way he did, to him, he was making it seem like, oh yeah, I just told her she could leave. But it's like, sir, you know that's not how you told her. You really just dismissed her and said you can go. And anybody would be offended by that. Like, yes, I do want to leave and I don't want to be here, but don't just dismiss me and say you can go. Like, who are you talking to? So I totally understand Eni being upset about that. And then when they had like their huge blowout and Swanky was coming at him and it was getting real crazy, I feel like at some point Lewis went into defense mode, which is understandable, because if someone's coming at you a certain way, whether you're in the right or wrong, it's very easy to get defensive. But yeah, in that situation, I feel like they were both wrong in some ways. I feel like Eni's reaction could have been toned down a little bit, but I feel like Lewis should not have done what he did the way that he did it. And I agree with Eni. Like, you really could just go try to date, find a girlfriend, wife, marry her, have a baby. Like, you know, and then it is questionable like where this want for a baby is coming from. Like, do you want the baby to have your own family like you say, or do you want the baby to kind of reconcile with your original family? Or maybe he's doing it for both, which I get it. Lewis does seem like he's very lonely, and honestly, like, Lewis doesn't even seem like he fits in with this cast. So when he said that he feels like he's an outsider or something, like, I felt that, because even just watching the show, it's like he doesn't really belong here, but I feel like he's looking for a sense of belonging, and he really misses his family, which makes me sad, because he seems like such a sweetheart, but I don't think he has like the right way of going about things. But yeah, when they made up, it was so beautiful. When they hugged, like, it kind of gave like big sister, little brother kind of vibes. Like, she just accepted him with open arms and, you know, let it go. And you can tell he was being really sincere. So I love that. Well, I guess at that point, I kind of already talked about Lewis. The only other thing I'll say about him is him and Fantana, when he was just like, oh, I was just trying to sleep with you. Crazy. And Fantana should not have been coming at Louis the way that she was, like, oh, every week you're interested in another girl. Like, I get it, but it's like, okay, Fantana, you're out here with Diamond, and even you've admitted, like, you be playing around with guys or whatever. Like, does it even matter? So I feel like she was just taking it a little bit too serious. The moment where Fantana apologized to Louis was also really nice. Like, I like that as well. And last but not least, Annie. This woman needs therapy ASAP. Like, she needs therapy as of yesterday, as of last year. This lady was honestly insufferable the entire season, from start to finish. I thought maybe at some point there was room for redemption and room for, you know, her to grow as a person a little bit, but no, till the very last second, this woman was just in denial of her actions, in denial of herself and her behavior, calling people fake, but she's the one being fake, being shady, being rude, you know. And honestly, she just seemed just a little off. Like, I don't know if there's something going on with her mentally outside of like emotional things, but she just seemed off to me. I absolutely hated how she handled every single situation this entire season. Like, from the very first episode where she was trying to come at Nadia at Zari's wedding, which was not appropriate whatsoever. Even if you did feel a way about Nadia, that was not the right time or place to do that. And then on top of that, shading Zari and her husband at the wedding, talking about the age and all that. You're free to have your own opinion, but that's not the right place to do that, especially you being a guest. Like, if you were at home watching from the sidelines on Instagram or something, say whatever you want, but you are a guest at someone's wedding, like their union together, and you're saying these things and comparing him to her son, and I'm like, it was just weird. And then with her coming at Nadia, it's like you're coming at her because you're saying she's fake or whatever, but Nadia's right, like, you guys never had a friendship, so she really didn't owe you anything. And her being cordial to you at the wedding, it's a wedding, like, why can't she say hi and smile? Even if she is friends with you, not friends with you, being fake, not fake, like, given the time and place, that was the right thing to do. And then on top of that, having a meetup with Fantana, who's clearly friends with Nadia and Swanky, just to go talk trash about Nadia and Swanky with their friend. Like, make it make sense. Like, in what world does that make sense? Did you think Fantana was gonna go like take up for you with them? Like, obviously she was gonna go report back to her actual friends and let them know what's up. Like, something's not clicking. Something's really not clicking with this woman. Then having the audacity to get into it with Zari, which rightfully so, because you were talking trash at Zari's wedding about her age difference or whatever. So Zari coming at you was, I also don't agree with the time and place, but clearly all of these interactions happen at these events. Then you're over here asking Swanky to come defend you? What? And I loved how Swanky handled it, because yeah, like, Fantana, how did your lunch go? And Fantana's over there like, yeah, our lunch. I feel like that was a perfect thing to say at the time. Like, how did your lunch go? Like, what did you say? But what's even more wild is the fact that Annie is acting like Fantana was lying and these are just lies and everybody's coming at her. It's everybody piling on her. Like, girl, you can't throw stones and then hide your hands. Like, you're a grown woman. Obviously, everybody says things, and sometimes you forget what you say to who or when or whatever, but I feel like for the most part, you can remember the general conversation that you've had with someone. And literally that entire lunch that you had with Fantana, you were talking trash. At least from what we saw. Maybe you guys talked about some other stuff, but it seemed like that's all you guys talked about. And it looked like you weren't even letting Fantana get a word in. So, but I just hated how she played victim the entire time with everyone. And people who are like newer to the cast, like Inni or Kefilwe, I feel like they had more sympathy for her, because it does look like, you know, everyone's ganging up on her. Like, why are they ganging up on her? But it's like, if you see how she's like being fake, being shady, saying these things, and then acting as if it was all lies. Like, girl, you deserved what you got. Like, everybody like kind of coming at you, it made sense. And truthfully, to backtrack to that voice note, phone call, whatever it was, situation between her and Swanky, I believe Swanky. Like, I totally believe him. I feel like she probably really was talking trash about him to somebody on the phone, and she just went and acted like, oh, what are you talking about? There's no way. Like, it could never have been me. Like, what are you saying? And talking about her character with her kids. I'm like, if your kids ever watch this show, they'll see your true character there, honestly. Like, it don't even matter what people are saying. Like, just this show alone shows your character, and I think that's more cause for concern versus these voice notes or whatever. Like, the way that she refused to get up and apologize at that event that she asked Naked to put together, to apologize honestly to the general group, but especially to Nadia, was crazy. Like, you're over here getting upset that they're asking you or encouraging you to apologize, to say something, and now because you feel like it's forced, it's not gonna be genuine. But it's like, they're not forcing you. Sorry if it looks like my lighting changed. My light died and it looks like my camera's about to die too, so I'm gonna try to wrap this up. But yeah, where was I? Annie refusing to apologize is crazy, literally crazy. Like, I don't care if they were asking you or, you know, you felt pushed to do it or whatever. Like, you should have apologized. The right thing to do was apologize regardless. Like, it wasn't a case where you're just trying to be nice or whatever. Like, you generally owed people apologies, especially Nadia, because you, at that point, you already made up with Zari and you made up with Swanky, even though both of those friendships are weird. But you owed Nadia an apology, and you know you were wrong. And the fact that she still chose not to and chose to play victim is literally insane. Nonetheless, I still have some grace and a little empathy for Annie, because she did have a conversation with Naked where she did reveal that she miscarried twins actually, and she was enduring a lot that previous year or season or whatever, you know, and she's grieving the loss of 2 babies. So I definitely feel for her, and as of recent, news has come out that her and her husband Tubaba are getting divorced. So that's a whole situation in itself, and obviously everyone knows that he's cheated on her, had children on her or whatever. Like Zari said, he's had children all over Africa. And when Annie was like, oh, where are the babies? It's like, girl. But yeah, I definitely feel for her. I feel like she's been put through a lot in her personal life. It's still not a license to go treat people the way that she was or act the way that she was. But I feel for her, because it is a lot to be a mother and a wife and go through the things that she's been going through with her, you know, losing children. At this point, I truly believe she just needs to go heal, get therapy, figure things out for herself. Like, she definitely has a brand new chapter ahead of her, and, you know, learn how to be accountable for her actions, but also have grace for herself. Like, I think she has a little too much grace for herself in certain situations, but I do think that she should be aware of like what she's going through and take time for herself. But honestly, she definitely carried the drama of the show on her back this season. I'll give her that. But overall, I think it was a great season. I loved every minute of it, and I will definitely be tuning in to the next one. But that's all I have for today. You guys let me know what your thoughts were on this season. If you watched this season, if you've watched the show, let me know your thoughts about the different cast members or how you like the show overall. Good or bad. Will you be watching the next one? Did you enjoy this season? Have you enjoyed past seasons? What are your thoughts on all of the mess, all of the drama, Annie's antics, and all of that? And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.